Hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, mga ka-ABC, mga ka-awesome. Ito na naman tayo sa isa pang episode ng Daily R's, the reading, reflecting, and responding to the Word of God. We do this every day. Napaka-importante nating gawain, no? To feed our spiritual bodies, for it to stay healthy, for us to stay healthy, and to stay awesome, because this is how we stay close to Jesus and to God, our Father, no? To always stay close to His Word. And we get our nutrition currently in the book of 1 Samuel. Doon natin nakukuha yung sustansya natin, just like how we eat for our physical bodies. We choose what we eat. Dapat sana. Dapat nutritious yan. Dapat masustansya yan. At beneficial for our physical bodies. And dapat ganun din sa spirituality natin. We always get it from this book, the Bible. Lahat na nandito, very nutritious for our spiritual bodies, for it to stay healthy and busog-busog parate. Yan ang kasama ko ngayon sa stream. Walang iba kundi si Kuya Jesse.
Alright. Hello.
What's up?
Hello, bro.
How are you?
Ayos naman. Pahinga. Yeah! Yun naman, ayos naman, bro. Tuloy-tuloy lang. At andito ulit tayo. Glad to be here to continue with our series, the Book of Samuel. Parang bilis pala, no? Ilang chapters na to? Ang bilis ng progression din. Anyway, glad to be here to, once again, learn. Kiss, kumusta ka naman, bro?
Awesome. And indeed, no, for rest is very important. And I am good. I'm good. Ano ngayon eh? Rest din actually ngayon. Supposedly, mag-workout ako ngayon, pero nag-break ako, nag-edit na lang ako ng photos, parang hindi ko feel, gusto ko magpahinga. Rest is very important indeed, to just, take it slow, take it easy. Hindi kailangan laging patakan, di ba? So yeah, awesome Kuya Jess to have you here. And tingnan natin yung mga kasama na natin sa comments. Dito na si Kuya Jess din mismo ang nauna. Hello Kuya Jess, and si Ate Leia, of course, nasa YouTube. Let's go, everybody. Happy Daily R's. Ready your Bibles na, indeed. Open nyo na. Open them on chapter 13 of 1 Samuel. Yan ang babasahin natin for tonight. And still about Saul. Saul. And dito, basta, the reading tonight is very interesting. And thank you, Ate Leia. Ngayon naman dito na rin si Ate Kat. Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Daily R's. Mismo, happy Daily R's. Let's enjoy the process of, investing in our relationship with our God. So this is one way of doing that. Reading from history, how He showed His nature to other people before and to us now, diba? Thank you, Ate Kat, and si Ate Laura, of course. Good evening. Hello, good evening. Yan, medyo mabagal ang pasok nila ngayon. Makapit ba ang internet? So, no worries. Hintayin namin kayong mga ka-awesome. So, while that is happening, setup ko lang saglit. Ayun, si Ate Ken. Hello. Good evening, Ate Ken. And so, quick recap lang muna tayo, from last night. So, kagabi, ito na yung address. Every time a leader, ends his, aalis, ganun. They always have their farewell, and hindi lang siya yung basta-basta na bye-bye, ganun. Ingat kayo, hindi ganun eh. They always take that opportunity to warn, to encourage, and to bring the outwardness of God, dun sa address or sa farewell ni Samuel from nabasa natin last night. He reminded again the Israelites of who God is, how good God is to them. Kaya yung binanggit niya, it started way back from Egypt, na it was God who brought them out of Egypt from their slavery in that land. And from then on, God was nothing short of good to them. He was providing for them. He was fulfilling His promise to their forefathers. He was protecting them, winning them wars, parang ganun. And then, Ay, medyo choppy ba?
Slide.
Medyo. Sige, wagalan ko na lang magsalita. Dito kasi ako sa taas eh. Ayun, nasan ako? Ayun, Samuel was reminding them of God, the goodness of God to them because they have done something very detestable, or they have rejected God to be their king. Kasi nga, di ba, they asked for a human king. Kahit na they already have God to be their king. And he is superior. He is the best king anyone can ever have because he's so good and he can't fail. Pero they rejected God. They chose, or they wanted to have a human king just because they want to be like the other nations. Nakikigaya sila. They're conforming to the patterns of the world in their context before. So ngayon, ito si Samuel from chapter 12. In-emphasize niya na you have rejected God. And that is such a great sin. Diba? You have, sabi nga ni AJ, malaking sampal sa mukha yun eh. Na ang bait ng Diyos, pero yun yung ginawa nila. Tapos, by the way, medyo na-skip ko yung umpisa pala on Samuel reassuring that he has not been short of a good leader to them. He was asking na, may nagawa ba ako mali? May nanakaw ba ako? Kasi kung meron, ibabalik ko. Yung character niya of being humble, and also his gusto niya, we can see his desire to serve, yung honorable dapat yung pag-stand niya before the people as God's judge. But he's making sure that he is blameless. He wants to stay blameless. That's why he's checking the people kung may nagawa man siyang mali, iatatama niya, which is such a good principle, no? And also a mindset that we can learn from Samuel. No? Kasi ngayon, yes, there are no judges anymore, but we are still Christians. We claim to follow Christ, so we have to live up to that standards as well of being blameless. Yun, and hindi naman ibig sabihin na perfect, but we strive to sin less, diba? Sin less, and Jesus can help us with that. Ayun, and ano pa ba? And also sa chapter 12 verse saan ba yun? Bandang baba yun eh, wherein the Israelites now realized what they have done because they have rejected God to be their king, and they were shaken to their core. Na natakot sila na we have done such a great mistake against the Lord, or a great sin against the Lord, and they were asking Samuel to pray for them. Pero Samuel he assured them that he will pray for them. So another character or leadership trait that we can learn from Samuel is praying for everyone. That is very powerful. Prayers are powerful. And also how he assured the people that there's hope. Don't be afraid, sabi niya eh. Di ko kasi mahanap yun. Teka, scroll ko lang mabilis. Ang banggit niya doon, don't be afraid, continue to serve. Ayun, sa verse 20, don't be afraid even though you have committed all this evil. Don't turn away from following the Lord. Instead, worship the Lord with all your heart. So don't turn away to follow worthless things that can't profit or rescue you. They are worthless. Verse 22, the Lord will not abandon His people. He is forever faithful. So, yes, magkakamali tayo, but the Lord is very gracious, is merciful. So, magkakamali tayo, but don't give up. Don't give up, keep going. And ayun, Samuel was reassuring them that the Lord will not abandon them. So should we, di ba? Yung response din dapat natin doon, the same. Let's strive to strengthen our faith in Him. And ang dami pang discussion from last night. And you can watch the video. Nandiyan yung nakasave sa Facebook page and also sa YouTube. So tonight naman, we're going to proceed with chapter 13. Ito, Samuel rebukes Saul. So, di ba yung may parang, we started with Saul, yung track record niya, medyo mahina, tapos aangat, umangat siya kasi nanalo sila ng laban. Tapos, he was directing the glory to God. Tapos biglang, ba't may rebuke? Anong ginawa ni Saul, di ba? So, interesting. Basahin natin yan maya-maya. Pero syempre, bago yan, tignan natin yung mga nakapasok na. Dito na si Jane. Hello, Jane. Good morning. Awesome. And si Kuya Jeremy, good evening. Good evening din sa'yo, Kuya. And si Kuya Jesse, Daily Bread. Let's go. hanggang comments. And si Mother Dear, good evening. Good evening, Ma. And si Dad, good evening. Nakikibati na rin ulit si Kuya Jesse. Magandang gabi. At nag-awesome na sila. At si Kuya JD, game na din. Kung ready na kayo, sabihin nyo na sila. Ate Kat, sila Kuya JD. Type awesome so we can start. Si Joshua, dito na rin. Awesome evening. Awesome evening din sa'yo, Kuya Josh. Kuya Arnel, hello. Awesome evening po here. Hello. And si Kuya Jesse, ready na. Hindi ko na siya tatanungin. And nag-awesome na sila. Sige, let's go, Kuya Jess. Recta na these, verses 1 to 23. Ayan. Whenever you're ready, Kuya.
I'm ready. Sige, let's go. Okay. Saul's failure. Saul was 30 years old when he became king. Wow, 30 years old. And he reigned 42 years over Israel. He chose 3,000 men from Israel for himself. 2,000 were with Saul at Michmash and in Bethel's Hill. Bethel's Hill country, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. He sent the rest of the troops away, each to his own tent. Jonathan attacked the Philistine garrison in Gibeah, and the Philistines heard about it. So Saul blew the ram's horn throughout the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." And all Israel heard the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine garrison, and Israel is now repulsive to the Philistines. Then the troops were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. The Philistines also gathered to fight against Israel. 3,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and troops as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They went up and camped at Michmash, east of Beth-aven. The men of Israel saw that they were in trouble because the troops were in a difficult situation. They hid in caves, in thickets, among rocks, and holes and cisterns. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul, however, was still at Gilgal, and all his troops were gripped with fear. He waited 7 days for the appointed time that Samuel had set. But Samuel didn't come to Gilgal, and the troops were deserting him. So Saul said, "Bring me the burnt offering and fellowship offerings." Then he offered the burnt offering. Just as he finished offering the burnt offering, Samuel arrived. So Saul went out to greet him, and Samuel asked, "What have you done?" Saul answered, "When I saw that the troops were deserting me and you didn't come within the appointed days, and the Philistines were gathering at Michmash, I thought, the Philistines will now descend on me at Gilgal, and I haven't sought the Lord's favor, so I forced myself to offer the burnt offering." Samuel said to Saul, "You have been foolish. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. It was at this time that the Lord would have permanently established your reign over Israel, but now your reign will not endure. The Lord has found a man after his own heart, and the Lord has appointed him as ruler over his people, because you have not done what the Lord commanded." Then Samuel went from Gilgal to Gibeah in Benjamin. Saul registered the troops who were with him, about 600 men. Saul, his son Jonathan, and the troops who were with him were staying in Gibeah of Benjamin, and the Philistines were camped at Michmash. Raiding parties went out from the Philistine camp in 3 divisions. One division headed toward the Ophrah road leading to the land of Shual. The next division headed toward Beth Horon road, and the last division headed down the border road that looks out over the Zeboim valley toward the wilderness. No blacksmith could be found in all the land of Israel, because the Philistines had said, "Otherwise the Hebrews will make swords or spears." So all the Israelites went to the Philistines to sharpen their plows, mattocks, axes, and sickles. The price was 2/3 of a shekel for the plows and mattocks, and 1/3 of a shekel for pitchforks and axes, and for putting a point on a cattle prod. So on the day of battle, not a sword or spear could be found in the hand of any troops who were with Saul and Jonathan. Only Saul and his Jonathan had weapons. Now, a Philistine garrison took control of the pass at Michmash. Back to you,
Yun.
bro.
Awesome. Thank you, Kuya Jesse. And that is our reading, no, for tonight, verses 1 to 23. And we have noticed a character of Saul, and he was rebuked by Samuel. So mga awesome. Before I ask Kuya Jesse for his insights tonight, kayo din share your thoughts. What have you noticed from our reading? And sino pa may pumasok pa ulit? Ayun, si Tita Cot. Hello, Tita Cot. Good evening, good evening. Ayan. So share nyo naman yung thoughts yung mga ka-awesome sa reading natin tonight. Kuya Jesse, what's your first observation sa reading?
Okay, so makita natin dito sa title pa lang, Saul's Failure. So yung unang thought ko, parang bilis, pero pag titignan ulit natin sa first statement pa lang, many things have passed. Okay, so kumbaga mukhang matanda na rin si Saul dito in a way. Okay, he reigned 42 years and then failure. Okay, something happened. Okay, he failed, and then he was rebuked by Samuel, which is, again, anong nangyari? Nabasa naman po natin kanina, he did something detestable, or he disobeyed. Okay, disobeyed a very specific command. Okay, tapos yun yung isang gusto ko lang i-share na kasi baka parang ang bilis masyado ng pangyayari, parang 'di ba nung una sabi natin or sabi ko or yung na-notice ko, mukhang okay naman si Saul, 'di ba? Not so bad. He even led one place to victory. I think that's Gibeah, as city of Jabesh, he led that to victory. Tapos medyo humble naman siya in times, hindi siya nagtitake ng revenge and so on. Tapos dito may failure na nangyari. Okay, so through the span of time, many things could have happened din. So 40 years, sabi dito sa verse 1, he reigned 42 years over Israel. Yeah, so yun muna. Tapos may nangyaring battle, so 2, 3 and so on, and one of their worst enemies or talagang kinakalaban nila until this time is the Philistines. Okay, they were fighting with the Philistines, and then what else? Ayun, tuloy-tuloy ang laban. Right, can you go? Sige, mamaya na lang. Antayin natin. So andito na rin na-introduce yung anak ni Saul, pangalan ay Jonathan. Okay, si Jonathan attacked the Philistine garrison. Okay, and bakit kaya Saul yung ginamit? Nagtaka lang ako dito sa verse 4. All the Israel heard the news. Saul has attacked the Philistine garrison, pero ang umatake naman si Jonathan. So, ano kayang point nun? May commentary dito na nagsasabi, Saul most likely took the credit. Pwede naman, or since anak niya si Jonathan, it is also a common culture during their time na kasama na yung pangalan mo dun, kasi kapamilya mo naman yung nakiaway. But in both cases, this could have been feeding the pride of Paul or Saul. Saul, nalilito ako dun sa Saul and Paul. So, taking the credit from somebody else's. So, yung son niya yung gumawa, pero parang napunta sa kanya. Siyempre, lalaki yung ulo mo dyan. And then, again, dyan magsisimula yung pride. Okay? Tapos, yun yung una. And then, dito, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung away. At dahil dyan, dito, mas naging mainit ang awayan between the Philistines and Israel dito sa verse 4. And Israel is now repulsive to the Philistines. Then the troops were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal. So tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang laban. And ayun lang muna siguro, bro. Baka may masabi ka dun sa part na Saul taking the credit of Jonathan's victory or attack.
Ayun. Actually, ano siya eh, it's off pag binabasa natin without context din talaga. Pero if we're going to read it with context, with history, kahit sino pang lumaban, it's always the king who will be known. I think we are familiar with that as well, right? Na the things that we do, for example, we are a team. And sa team, kahit yung co-player yung may victory, it's always the team who will be acknowledged, parang ganun, in all Israel. And in their time, in war, in battle, ang nakaka-collect ng honor, ng glory is always the king. And supposedly, this honor, this glory is for God. Kasi siya dapat ang king. But since, di ba, ang naging king nila is si Saul, siya yung, ayun nga, sabi ni Kuya Jesse, ito yung trap na gusto sanang iwasan ni God. Kung si God ang in-honor nila as king, walang ganito because every win, it's always going to be because of God and magiging clear yun, super clear. But because there's this so there is Saul who is their king, no, sa kanya napupunta yung honor which could lead them away from God, and that is the danger. That is the danger na siguro for us, if we can translate it to our context now, it could easily become an idol, parang ganun. For example, our mentors, for example, mga kuyas, mga titos natin or ates, titas na tumulong sa atin who discipled us. If we put them too high, parang ganun na, oh, si kuya, si ate ganito, he can't do no wrong, parang ganun kasi siya yung naging mentor natin. Pwedeng maging ganun ang case, di ba? The glory goes to them. He taught me this, she taught me that. And it supposedly should go back to the Lord. So, yun yung trap eh. When we put someone in between us and God, it's a relationship between us and God. So, dapat yung dalawang yun lang. So, we have to be careful with that as well. Even from the beginning, makikita natin na yun yung punto talaga ni God, that to keep them humble and to give them less reasons to drift away from the Lord. Pero they were selfish, naging short-sighted sila. They wanted to be like the other nations, and here it's happening now. It's being realized that it was Saul that was being uplifted, gathering and receiving all the glory and honor because of the victories that they're having. And so I bet we already know or have heard about Saul, and yun yung naging downfall din niya. Nahihirapan siyang mag-lead because of his kingship and all. His humility in their first encounter with the Amorites, magiging shaky yun eh, because may position pa rin siya. So, yun yung trap. We have to be careful with that. Yun ang thought ko with that, Kuya Jesse.
Thanks, bro. Yes. Very good point. Mas magandang yung part na yun, no? Yung taking the credit away from the Lord. Oo nga, no? Which is, I think, connected siya dun sa second part, dito sa verse 6. Na ang nakita nila ulit, yung trouble, they forgot again who was with them. And God was with them. So parang nakita nila yung kalaban, tapos yung king nila, si Saul, which is medyo shaky or mahiyain, or alam natin parang hindi siguro firm na king, ganun na may mga questions pa rin, and so on. So, anong nangyari? Nagtago, no? Nung nagkaroon na ng gathering between two of the groups, the Philistines and the Israelites. Natakot yung mga Israelites. Okay, they were in trouble. Okay, nagtago sila, and some of Hebrews even crossed the Jordan of the land of God in Gilead. So, yan, andyan ulit yun, yung fear. Parang paulit-ulitin ito na encounter natin during the past episodes regarding this kind of fear. Especially when you have already experienced God's victory, or the victory through the help of God. Parang nakakalimutan nila lagi, nakakalimutan, tapos yan, nagbumigay na naman sila sa takot nila. So after that, he waited 7 days. Saul, however, was still at Gilgal, and all his troops were gripped with fear. He waited 7 days. Ayan. Ito na yung part na magkakamali si Saul, yung sa burnt offering. Pero napaisip din ako dito. Ba't kaya na-late si Samuel din? Parang hindi niya tinupad yung usapan or what? So napaisip lang din ako sa part na yun. Bawal malate. Bawal malate. Kasi di ba, ewan ko, parang sige, sabihin natin may law or may rule. Parang iniisip ko rin yung sa side ni Saul, tapos wala pa rin siya, tapos nagpanic si Saul, ano? So nagawa niya yun. Napapaisip lang ako dun sa part na to. Yes, alam na yung mainly parang naka-point talaga yung Saul, di ba? Parang si Samuel pa nag-rebuke. Pero hindi natin sinabi ni Saul, ba't ka kasi na-late? Ginawa. So yun. Yun muna bro, yung sa part na fear, again, yung sa fear, giving into fear, relying on our own strength, and comparing it to the situation happening to us. That could be our downfall. Let's not forget who God is. God is bigger than all of our fears. Sa totoo lang, ang hirap siguro, kaya laging nababasa natin kasi nangyayari pa rin. Hanggang ngayon, it's still a struggle for us. Sometimes you are blinded by what we see, na natatakot tayo, and then we forget that God is stronger, is greater than the fears that we have. Ayun. Tapos yung second na sinasabi ko, iniisip ko pa lang yung sa pagka-late ni Samuel, tapos yung ginawa ni Saul. So mamaya, pag-usapan ulit natin yun. Back to you, bro. Baka may comment ka din doon.
Sige. Actually, meron din. Yung napapansin kong theme dito is how we respond in circumstances with palibalik to yung words sa isip ko. Yung how we react to things that are happening. 'Di ba? Sa kanila, nasindak sila that bigla silang in trouble. So anong ginawa nila, they hid. So napangunahan sila ng takot, which is understandable. Fear is real, it's there. Pero it's still our responsibility. It's still our choice how we are going to react after it, diba? So we got scared. So what should we do? Do we hold on to our instincts? Or do we hold on to our faith to the Lord na, yes, I'm scared, but I know the Lord is here. Parang ganun, diba? But they hid. So kanya-kanyang response din talaga yan. So for them, they chose that path na they hid, which is logical. It makes sense, diba? So they won't die. And under pressure, will really test our faith, test our character, how we're going to respond under pressure or under circumstances like these. And dito naman sa part ni Saul, yes, he's yung actions na gusto niyang gawin, they're good. He wants to offer these things to the Lord. Kaso he's impatient, very patient. There are clear instructions on how to do these rituals because they are still under practices and rituals before. Pero for me, on how I understood it, parang napunta doon yung masyadong na-focus yung ritual, thinking like God will not move just because you didn't do the ritual, even if you have a pure heart. Parang ganun yung nasa isip ko na he could have just really waited, and alam naman ng Diyos na intention mo is good, but still wait, because the command is really, really clear in the book of Deuteronomy, no? And ang ano pa dun, sa sobrang atat niya, sa sobrang impatient niya, ginawa na niya lahat, sabi sa verse 9, di ba? Akin na yan! Tapos in-offer na niya. And sa verse 10, just as he finished, so pagkatapos lang, kasi parang siguro, after like minutes or something, tada, nandiyan na si Samuel. He could have waited for a little bit more, then wala sanang pagkakamali, di ba? So, aside from sa side ni Samuel na bawal malit, importante din yan, di ba? It's a good principle. From the side of Saul, let's also practice patience and understand that ritual is ritual, but the Lord is way beyond rituals and practices. He understands you. He understands our motives. So he is not limited by the things we do. Diba? For example, dito, kung hindi ginawa ni Saul yung offering at that moment, would it make any difference? Parang ganun. Na hindi ba siya under protection of the Lord? Parang ganun. Hindi pa rin The Lord is still over them. The Lord is over all these things. So, hindi siya commanded. Ang dating, how I understood it is, parang sa ulo ni Saul, nothing will happen unless I do this offering. Parang, no. The Lord is over that offering. Those offerings is really for the people to keep them reminded, us reminded as well, that we are offering to the Lord. All these things belongs to Him. The reason why we rejoice is because of Him. Yun. So, parang ganun yung nasa isip ko. Sana wag natin din maging mentality yun, no, that the practices, the things we do dictates how the Lord would react to our character, to our behavior. It's not that way. The things we are doing, it's because of our response din dapat of His nature. Ayun. And dito may comment si Kuya Josh, sabi niya, ayun, may pagkukulang din kaya si Samuel dito. Pwede. Nagpanic si Saul kasi wala pa si Samuel sa appointed time, meaning may naset silang time and date. Hindi talaga pwede yung bad culture na Filipino time. True. Ay, please, tanggalin na natin yan. Time is more than gold. Kasi here, it costs Saul's disobedience. But I think, ultimately, the response of Saul is the culprit kasi God's command about offering is absolute. Late man o hindi, si Samuel. Yung mismo, yung Filipino time being late, it's still an important principle, very important for us to practice no respect, not only for our time, but most importantly, the time of others. Pero, ang pinaka-mapukpok sana dito is that the patience, the attitude, how we react when under pressure, yung composure. It's very difficult to keep composure, especially under pressure, but just know that be still, parang ganun, be still and know He is God, mga ganun. Remind ourselves that it's never really in our hands, whatever we do. God is always still in control, and stay obedient and be patient. Patience talaga ni Saul na wala dito. Naging atat siya. Under pressure din naman. So, kind of understandable. I see his state, his circumstance dito. Ayun. And nagtatag na rin si Kuya Arnel. Awesome, Kuya Arnel. Thank you. Kuya Jesse. What else? Yeah.
Great point on the late part, tapos yung sa ginawa, yung response ni Saul. Yeah, I think I'm on you. I agree with you on that part. Tapos yung nasabi mo rin, bro, emphasize ko lang na, yes, we do these things and then God will respond, parang ganun. Hindi it's more of God will do something and then we respond, ganun. It's the other way around. Kaso binabaliktad ng culture natin. Honestly, ang hirap. Ang hirap matanggal, parang ganun, no? Makabuti tayo para maging mabuti ang Diyos. Matagal nang mabuti ang Diyos, mga kapatid. So we just have to respond accordingly to His goodness. He has been good ever since. At yun nga yung speech, di ba, in connection to the speech of Samuel, di ba, na sinasabi niya, kahit ang sama-sama niyo, kahit ang kukulit niyo, kahit na paulit-ulit yung ginagawa niya, sana maging mabuti pa rin kayo. Parang kasi talaga ang God's nature is being good. Kaya sinasabi natin, God is good all the time. And talagang, yeah, we can say that honestly, if we understand how God works, get to know more about Him with His words and so on. So anyway, yeah, nakita ko dito, in a way, may pagkakamali sila, but both has, yung greater pa rin is yung kay Saul talaga. Tas kay Samuel kasi may mga reasons din yan sa late part. Pero hindi na-emphasize masyado kung ba't siya na-late and so on. Yeah, there must have been some reasons, pero again, clear naman siguro sa atin yung sa late part as much as possible. Pero napaisip lang ako kasi minsan sa akin, may timing ako pag alis ng bahay. Hindi naman ako na-late. Pero may instances talaga na parang mag-iiba yung circumstance. Like, bigla na lang traffic. Bigla na lang, di ba? Parang gano'n. So, parang minsan no choice ka, talagang malilate ka. So may mga ganong cases. Pero, yeah. Rare naman. Hindi naman dapat lagi-lagi, di ba? Parang lagi-lagi na lang. So, for example, na-late na si Samuel, ano kayang better response ni Saul? Ano? Is it right for him to just go and offer burnt offering? Sana iba na lang ginawa niya. Siguro nag-pray na lang siya. Ano pa ba? Or in-encourage niya yung iba. He could have done something else rather than this burnt offering. Kasi very specific to eh. Very specific yung sa pag-offer ng burnt offering. Nagagawa lang yan ay priest. Si Samuel lang. Mali yung ginawa niya dito. So, direct disobedience. Yun siguro, yung sa response din, no? When times or when situations don't come according to our favor, siguro nangyari to, no? Or may napagkasunduan kayo tapos hindi tumupad or medyo shaky. How are we going to respond to that situation? So, ganun na lang, no? Isipin natin. Huwag natin gayahin yung response ni Saul dito. So, after that, ayan, he made an excuse. So, ito na. Sa verse 10, what have you done? Sabi ni Samuel, when I saw the troops deserting me and you didn't come. So yun, parang naghanap siya ng excuse. Tapos syempre, blame niya rin, no? Late ka kasi, yun pala yun, no? You didn't come within the appointed days and the Philistines were gathering at Michmash. So tatlo yung sinabi niya I thought the Philistines will now descend on me in Gilgal and I haven't sought the Lord's favor. So yan din yung sinabi ni Brother O'Neill kanina. Yun, I haven't sought the Lord's favor. So gagawa siya ng something para magka-plus point siya. Parang ganun yung naisip ko dito eh. So yun, excuses. Yun muna siguro bro, para yung flow ng kon natin. Kasi ang ganda ng interchange eh. Anong masasabi mo dun sa pag-excuse niya or something sa part na yun?
Ano siya, may panic talaga eh. Kasi akala niya, when I saw the troops were deserting me and you didn't come within the appointed days, walang nakaturo sa kanya eh. He was really saying na dahil dito, dahil din sa'yo, walang nakaturo sa kanya. So he just took action. He took matters into his own hands. Which is, disclaimer din, it's not a totally bad move, no, when we take action. Pero pag tayo lang, yun yung mali. We still have, di ba, we always acknowledge the Lord in all our plans, in all our ways, and then we will be guided by Him. Pero pag tayo lang, there's a really huge chance of us committing a mistake, just like how Saul did commit a mistake in this part, na neglect niya yung very strict and very clear command that it's only the priest or high priest who can facilitate or administer offerings like this. Ayun, so, and yun din, no, yung plus points. Andito yun, hindi lang diretso, pero ito yung concept, ito yung idea eh. Sa verse 12, I thought the Philistines will now descend on me at Gilgal and I haven't sought the Lord's favor. So parang, why would you think that the Lord, diba? In the first place, Samuel already assured Saul that the Lord will always be with him. Sabi pa nga, saan ba yun? Na do whatever your hands want to do, parang ganun. God will be with you all the time. So, hindi na kailangan ng ganito, wala kailangang offerings or mismo yung sinabi ni Kuya Jesse kanina na dapat good boy tayo para we receive something from God. Diba, even if we fail to be good people, we still are blessed. So it's really a response, not really, give and take. Parang ganun eh. Hindi, we are always given. So yun yung parang point dito so yun yung parang mindset ni Saul na sana, ayun, isang magandang principle din yun or character, principle for us to be reminded of. We should already know this actually, mga ka-awesome, no? Na hindi ganun ang relationship natin with God, na we have to be good so that the Lord will be good. Mismo yung sinabi ni Kuya Jess, the Lord, even from the beginning of time, yun na siya, yun yung nature niya. For His name's sake pa nga ang sabi kagabi, di ba? Kasi yun siya. So we respond accordingly. Pero pag binaliktad natin, doon nagkakagulo and we lose sight of His goodness, of the path, we are misled, we are confused, ayun, and we are burdened because we are trying to please God so that we are trying to please God in a way para masalba. Hindi we are already saved. Yung ganong mentality na bumabaliktad So, tagalin na natin yun and remind others as well, guide others as well to stay away from that mentality. And dito naman, sabi ni Ate Ken, bako muna ito saglit. Ayun. Lumalabas na parang shallow yung pagkakakilala. Pagkakakilala. Or I would say, pati faith kay Lord, may doubt, impatience siya, tapos bliname niya pa si Samuel. Di ba? Walang nakaturo sa kanya. He didn't also admit that he was impatient while it was very clear that he was. Di ba? So, napaka-shallow din talaga. And also, si Kuya JD, sabi niya, he cites Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. Diba? And thank you for citing this, Kuya Jades. And si Ate Kat, medyo naintindihan ko si Saul sa part na nagawa niya bigla yung offerings. Kasi naalala ko na biglaan lang siyang naging king. Siguro, unang salang niya to as king. Possibly, pero from the intro of this chapter, matanda na siya Saul was 30 years old when he became king. And then he reigned over Israel 42 years. So, he was already at that age. Hindi lang siya parang teenager, ganun. Tapos, kumbaga, tas mayroon na silang first fight with Nahash, the Amorites, with Nahash. And he won that. Ang ganda pa ng character niya doon. He was pointing the victory back to the Lord. Pero yun. Pero actually, naiintindihan ko din siya, Kat, na under pressure Pag na-pressure ka talaga, tas ikaw yung leader, wala di ba? Ngarag ka bigla. Discombobulated ang utak mo. So, but still, kahit sana naguguluhan tayo, compose ourselves and pray. Marami siyang choices na he could have done instead, but naging impatient siya. He chose that path. So, all about choices talaga. Sabi naman ni Josh, hirap pag napangunahan tayo ng emotions, ng panic, ng stress and pressure. Sometimes it could be a test of faith pala para sa atin. We must be courageous and stand our ground because the Lord will deliver us. Exactly. Thank you for pointing this out. The first line ni Josh, pag napangunahan tayo ng emotions. Kasi our emotions are very real and we feel emotions under different circumstances. So pag may circumstances na nangyari, there are different emotions that would overwhelm us or we would feel them. Pero hindi yon ang deciding factor. Sana wag natin gawing deciding factor yung emotions natin because I got scared. Woo, 'di ba? Ganun na lang. We're very instinctive. Sana hindi. Emotions will always be there, but sana our decisions will always be influenced by, yes, our emotions, kailangan pa rin yun, but also with rationality. So what's the rational thing to do at that moment? Basing it on my emotions and the circumstance. So, ang dami. Pero we lose. We most of the time lose when we are overwhelmed with emotions. And the perfect example for this is anger. When we get angry, that's when especially when we are really overwhelmed by anger, doon tayo nawawalan ng composure and we do reckless things, diba? So that's just one emotion. What about the others? So we really have to compose, hold our ground, be courageous, and acknowledge the Lord even at that moment. When we feel like losing to our emotions, pray. Because prayer is very powerful. And breathe and take it slow. Ang dami principles about it. Thank you for this, Kuya Josh. And sabi naman ni Arnel, amen and amen to all. All right. And so, Kuya Jess, what else have you, ano pang sharing mo sa reading natin tonight?
Amen. Amen to all those insights and sharing. Again, when we come to these situations na magpapanik tayo, yes, may kailangan tayong gawin, pero wag naman natin gawin yung lantarang, kunwari may specific instructions. So again, yung masasabi ko lang, Saul could have done something different na hindi niya gagawin yung offering. Sabi ko siguro pray or something else other than disobedience, just to keep his mind off what was happening siguro perhaps. Parang sa atin din. Tapos ayun nga, nagalit si Samuel, you have been foolish, you have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. Okay, sayang talaga. So parang nasira yung plano sana para sa kanya. So 14, your reign will not endure. The Lord has found a man after his own heart. So speaking of the next king, sino kaya to? Spoiler, David. All right. The Lord has appointed him as ruler over his people because he have not done what the Lord commanded. So talagang naka-emphasize dito yung command. The Lord commanded it. Okay? The Lord's commandment on the burnt offering. And Samuel went from Gilgal to Gibeah and Benjamin. Saul registered the troops who were with him, about 600 men. Yun, 16. Tama ba? Tapos yung next part, Saul, his Jonathan troops were with him and so on. Parang naghahanda na sila, no? Naghahanda na sila ng labanan. Okay, they were preparing for battle. Tapos, dito sa verses 19 onwards, okay, wala silang weapon dito. No blacksmith could be found in all the land of Israel because the Philistines had said, otherwise the Hebrews will make swords or spears. So, all the Israelites went to the Philistines to sharpen their plows, mattocks, and axes. Medyo nalita ako dito sa part na to. Ba't nga ba sila walang weapon? Bakit wala silang weapon? Okay. Anyway, kung wala man silang weapon, hindi naman pa rin yun yung pinaka-point. Diba? Yes, siguro may tulong yun. Pero where does their strength ultimately come from? Where will their victory come from? It will still come from the Lord. Yun lang siguro yung last na comment ko dito sa part na ito. Yung sa no weapons part. Okay? Hindi sila mag-rely ultimately sa weapon. Dapat. Okay? Kasi dun sa next parts, advance na natin, since familiar naman na tayo, very familiar mostly sa story na yun. Si David nga tinalo niya yung Philistine the giant with just a slingshot. Diba? Imagine, it's not even considered a weapon. But through the help of God, natalo yung kao. Ayun. Tapos yung last verse, introduction yan para bukas. Jonathan's victory over the Philistines. So, yeah. To be continued. So, hanggang doon lang, bro.
Awesome. Thank you, Kuya Jess. And before, papunta na tayo sa takeaways, by the way, mga ka-awesome. So, type nyo na yung mga takeaways nyo, responses from our reading tonight. And dito sa verse 19 onwards, bakit sila nawalan ng weapon? Medyo monopoly ang nangyari because they are being taken over by the Philistines. Tapos, meron silang weapons, but they're old, battle-worn. So, they did have, pero walang effective weapons. So, wala silang mahanap na blacksmith aside from a Philistine blacksmith. Syempre, siya yung kalaban nila, di ba? This blacksmith would still help them in a way, provide services, but with such a high price because it makes no sense for this blacksmith Philistine to help the enemy, parang ganun. So they're cornered like that. Pero ang pinaka-principle behind this is why are they relying on those weapons, di ba? Andun yung trap na naman. Mismo yung na example ni Kuya Jesse with David and his slingshot against Goliath. And also from the previous readings we've had, the walls of Jericho, how did that come down? It's always still about the Lord. So from the another theme that I can see from our reading tonight is they are really losing sight of this war, and they've lost sight of the fact that it's the Lord who is winning their battles, not them, not really them, not Saul their king. Saul is just their king, but really God is still their ultimate king. Pero nawala na kasi sa pananaw nila yun. They've rejected. Yeah, they did reject the God as their king, and they've lost sight of their previous victories provided to them or won for them by God. So once we do that as well, we relied on our own strength and might, we too will lose eventually. So sana, let's learn from their mistakes, no? Always acknowledge the Lord in all the things we do. Ayan. And, ayun, si Tita Kot, sabi naman niya, ayun, about being late for appointments. In the event we will be late or we can't make it, it's better to let the person know. Pero sa case ni Samuel, no reason was stated why he was late. True. And also it's how would he, wala pang text kasi noon he can text Saul or ibon ba, hindi ko alam eh. Pero it was really a circumstance, a test for Saul to maybe test his patience, what he would do. These things happen and it's a good opportunity for us to test ourselves. How would we react? And it's a way for God as well to gauge us. These things happen for a reason talaga. So let's keep our composure and capitalize of faith, not on our own wit and will and strength. Lagi, always with faith in Him. But thank you for this, Tita Kot. But for us, we have text now. We have many ways to let the other person know we're gonna be late. The least you could do is let them know na, uy, may banggaan dito or whatnot. Ganyan. So,
lalo na kung may task ka, may important task ka, grabe. Siyempre, yun lang. Agree. Hindi ko na mention yun eh. That's the good thing about today. We have cell phones. Let's use it to communicate. So thank you, Ate Kat.
Yun mismo. Common courtesy. Ngayon, we're headed to our responses. Before I call on Kuya Jesse, mga ka-awesome, share your responses for tonight na rin. Type niyo dyan sa comment section. I will read them. So, ayan. Kuya Jesse, ano naman ang responses mo for tonight?
Napapaisip pa rin ako dun sa last part. Parang wala silang weapon. So, pumunta sila sa Philistines para gumawa ng weapon. Para gamitin against the Philistines. Ha? Ang weird. Wala lang napapaisip. Is that a rule before? So siguro may mga ganong cases. Anyway, hindi naman siguro yung pinaka-point. Wala lang, inisip ko lang yung part na yun. Or ewan ko kung ako lang nag-iisip. Pero ang pinaka-takeaways ko for tonight, first is relying on God talaga. Always. Let's not rely on just ourselves, because if that happens, we will be consumed by our fears, blinded by what is before us. Okay? Wag natin kalimutan, especially for Christians, that God is with us. God is always good all the time. Kung may mga nangyayari man na hindi pabor sa atin or parang sabihin natin man hindi maganda, kaya pa ba nating magtiwala, ganun. Let's not forget God's goodness pa rin, and to not forget the blessings that He pours upon us. So yun yung una. Tapos next is yung sa obedience. Kung hindi man in favor yung circumstances, yung sa late part, hindi lang late eh. Kunwari pag may nangyaring hindi, mapipressure tayo, sabi natin. So, we are pressured. Let's not allow it to be the reason na gagawa tayo ng something against God. Mahirap, pero a great reminder for me, for all of us. So yun. Sa akin, sabihin ko na lang. When in times of pressure, let not the pressure you. Hirap. Let not the pressure you, but chill, relax, and let God. Parang may ganun na quote. Yung relax, let God take control. Parang ganun. Parang ganun. Yun yung top 2 na takeaways ko for tonight. Back
awesome.
To you, bro.
Thank you, Kuya Jess. And ako lang takeaway ko for tonight is yung second mo, na in under pressure. Because as Christians, we will always be under pressure. We are always under observation. Parang observation. Basta laging may nanonood sa actions natin. That's why we are to be careful, mga ganyan. And it adds to the pressure. Tapos, a huge chunk of how we serve is telling people about the gospel, about the life of Jesus, and we are to stand in front of people or persons, and that adds to the pressure. Ang dami. So really, being a Christian is not an easy life, no? But there's a lot of pressures. Pero sana ano yun, let's not lose composure. Always acknowledge the Lord in all our ways. And entrust to Him all these things that we're about to do. Yun lang lagi nasa mindset ko kasi I have this confidence. I acknowledge the Lord. He has given me this much confidence, but I still acknowledge Him that I'm able to accomplish these things because I'm not really naturally comfortable talking like this in front of many people. But every time I accomplish one, I acknowledge Him because I'm not able to do this on my own. It's really up to Him. And then when pressure comes, totoo yun eh, take it slow. Don't let the pressure you. Pwedeng quote yun, bro. Pero it's very important for us to, when things are happening too fast. Diba? Parang si Saul, but my people are leaving me. Samuel isn't here yet. Then he took action. It's best for us to, how do we compose ourselves? Pause. And then take it slow. And we can add in there while taking it slow is to pray. Acknowledge the Lord again. What should I do now, Lord? Diba? Those questions. Parang naalala ko na naman si Joshua when they lost their battle in AI. Diba? Na nagulat sila. Why did our men die? His first reaction was to pray to God. He was asking, why did this happen? Sana hindi na lang kami lumaban. So his first act was to go to the Lord. But for Saul, his first action was to seek for yung twisted ano ba? Mentality ba yun? Towards God, na kailangan niya yung favor ni God to win the battle. He could have prayed, really. Prayer is really the first thing sana na nagawa niya. For us as well, prayer. Ayun. So, take it slow. Pray. So we don't lose composure. Because when we do things very rash, we've talked about this as well, na yung mga rash decisions, they don't end well. We've read that as well with Jephthah, with Jephthah yung pinakamalupit doon. So we have to be slow din talaga. Dito sabi naman ni Tita Kot, may comment siya. So-called enemies still could lend a hand, like the Philistines sharpening weapons for Israel. Looks like a humbling situation for them. True. Sabi pa nga, di ba, they are in no position to conquer any land because they are really helpless at that time. They had no weapons. They are overtaken by the Philistines. And now they are seeking help from a Philistine blacksmith. So, a humbling position for them indeed. Na it should remind them of that's the consequence now of their choices, of their actions beforehand. So, ayun. The proud will always be humbled. Ito, parang, good point for this, no, Tita Kot. The proud will always be humbled. Ayan. And, ayun, malalim ba yung discussion natin? Walang nagta-takeaways. Pero walang problema, ayos lang yan. Kung wala ng takeaways, wala ng comments, we can end there. That is chapter 13, and may pa-intro na din, no, from as of verse 23 for tomorrow, chapter 14. So, abangan ano mangyayari. Dito pa rin, same time, same place, 9 p.m. onwards sa, may comment si Kuya Arnel. Takeaways niya for tonight. Rebuking is beneficial. We need to exercise in our congregation and to to our fellow Christians. So Samuel rebuked Saul. As Samuel rebuked Saul. Rebuking, correcting, guiding, that's very important, yes. But again, reminder, do them with gentleness, seasoned with salt, and diba, overwhelming with love. Kasi sensitive ang tao pag nakarinig ng rebuke. So we have to acknowledge that. Thank you for this, Kuya Arnel. Importante yan sa buhay ng Kristiyano. Yun. And with that, kita-kits bukas 9 p.m. onwards. Let's continue to read, reflect, and respond. And thank you, Kuya Jesse, for sharing with us tonight. And kayo din, mga ka-awesome, for your comments, your takeaways, and stay safe always. So, stay with Jesus, and that's how we stay awesome. Continue to shine the light of Jesus wherever we may be, and continue to choose to love one another with the love of Christ. God bless. Good night, and don't forget to pray. Bye-bye.
Bye.